Alright, today I'm gonna... Actually, hang on. Alright, I think I'm good. Well, it's time to idiot-proof your houses, because today I'm going to be ranking the Final Destination franchise. Starting off at the bottom, my number 5 is The Final Destination. Pro tip, if you market your horror sequel as the last one in the franchise, guaranteed there will be another one after that. I mean, Final Destination, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Saw, and many others. So anyway, I do have some nice things to say about this one. First off, the racist dies first, so that automatically gets my respect. Second, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Mykelti Williamson is great. He gives the only great performance in the movie, and his character, George Lanter, is the only character with actual depth. The only one who's not just a cardboard cutout.
There's an exit this way! Come on!
There is one genuinely terrifying kill. And I can appreciate that this is the shortest Final Destination movie by a full 8 minutes. That's about it. Aside from George, the other characters have no depth and they just kind of suck.
Excuse me, that's that's a little tight. Sorry. That's okay.
Most of the kills are like fine in concept, but bad in execution, especially with all the crappy CGI. The opening disaster is hands down the weakest in the franchise. And speaking of which, at one point, a race car makes a dolphin sound effect. What in the actual fuck? Is this supposed to be a parody and no one told me? Oh, and worst of all, there is no Tony Todd in this movie. Even the third one gave him a voice cameo, even though he didn't appear in person. At least that was something. This one is bad. I don't recommend it unless you're a completionist. In which case, yeah, it's not the worst thing ever. My score is 1.5 out of 5. Moving on up, my number 4 is Final Destination 3. On the plus side of things, the acting is pretty good overall. It's mostly Mary Elizabeth Winstead who's bringing the others up, but most of the others are at least okay. The opening disaster isn't the best, but it's creative and it's a welcome addition to the franchise.
Show me your titties!
Fuck off, Frankie!
The kills are hit and miss. Any of the kills that still have the practical effects are great. Any kills where they put the CGI over the practical effects suck, because the CGI is awful.
Win! That's all I know how to do, Kevin! Baby, I just win!
I like the ending. I like that they did something different.
Something wrong? I was gonna look you up afterwards, but... You okay? Something wrong?
The train.
Oh, shit. Not again.
We're gonna get out!
It's not working!
On the other hand, the writing is pretty mediocre, and most of the characters kind of suck, especially Ian McKinley. He's just the worst. Well, okay, he's not the worst, but he's down there. And this movie is just a rehash of the first two movies, for the most part anyway. It brings very little new to the table. This one isn't completely awful. It's decent. I wouldn't call it good, but it's decent. My score is 2.5 out of 5. My number 3 is the original Final Destination. I'll go ahead and say it. This is the scariest movie in the franchise. It also has some of the better acting. Devon Sawa and Ali Larter are both really good.
Is that him?
I think. Why did they make him up like Michael Jackson?
And the rest of the cast is at least decent, but Tony Todd steals the damn show.
Please. You'll wake the dead.
Why does hand do that?
Chemicals in the vascular flesh create cadaveric spasms.
He really is the coolest motherfucker. Most of the kills are solid, and the practical effects are great.
Dead! You're dead! And you're taking me with you!
On the other hand, the writing is good overall, but there are some aspects of the plot that could be better. There are some ideas and themes that are brought up but never really amount to anything. They're never really explored to their full potential. Like at one point, Alex and Clear are talking and she brings up some sort of vague connection between them. Like at a moment when something big happened, they both felt the exact same thing. And nothing ever comes of that. It's just dropped. And finally, as much as I love most of the kills, Valerie Luton's death is one of the dumbest and most convoluted in the franchise. Overall, this one is a really good movie. I recommend it. My score is 3 out of 5. My number 2 is Final Destination 2. This movie improves on the first movie in most ways. The opening disaster is better, and in my opinion, the best in the franchise. The writing is just as good, and the plot is more coherent, and they don't leave any dangling threads, so thank you for that. The kills are more gruesome, and the musical score is also slightly better. And finally, Tony Todd is awesome as always. I have two mixed aspects for this one. Aside from Tony Todd, the acting in this movie is not as good as the first movie, and the characters aren't as fleshed out. They're not bad in either regard, they're just less good.
All right. This is really great, Mrs. Gibbons.
Thank you so much for inviting us. It's our pleasure.
So how are you doing, Kimberly?
Good. Yeah, had a fun summer. I don't know, I guess things are pretty much getting back to normal.
As for negatives, this movie still has quite a bit of wasted potential. It feels like it, I don't know. It's not very scary, and it just kind of feels like it could have been better as a whole. Finally, my number 1 is Final Destination 5. This movie, in my opinion, is the best in the franchise for 2 reasons: characters and tone. First off, the characters in this movie are better acted, more likable, and more fleshed out than anyone in the other movies. And a couple of them even get little character arcs. I know, who would have thought? Most importantly, they feel like real, believable people. At least most of them do. The one who doesn't, the creepy guy, is at least played by a talented actor and rightfully portrayed as a sleazebag. The leads are probably the best in the franchise, and Miles Fisher gives the best non-Tony Todd performance in any of these movies.
None of us deserve to die, then, why is it that you deserve to live, Molly? You said it yourself. You don't.
Second, the tone is much more consistent and balanced than the other movies, especially the cynical snarkiness of the fourth one. This movie successfully combines the dark suspense of the first movie with a little bit of lighthearted humor. The kills are some of the best in the franchise, and while the CGI isn't fantastic, it is leagues better than Part 4. And finally, the ending. The ending is legitimately the best in the franchise, and honestly one of the most underrated reveals of all time.
Oh, excuse me. Those passengers who got off the plane earlier, what was that all about?
Oh, a kid had a panic attack and wanted off the plane. Said he had some kind of vision.
No.
Oh my God!
There are a couple little dumb moments here and there, nothing major. And also, the sleazebag's death, the death itself is awesome, but prior to that, we are subjected to a tired and unoriginal bit of slapstick that doesn't land at all. This is a great movie. I highly recommend it, but I also recommend you watch it last. My score is 4 out of 5. So a friend of mine recently pointed out that my ranking videos so far haven't really had outros, and honestly, that never even crossed my mind for some reason, so I'm starting that now. I mean, technically I started that with the last one, but this is the first time I'm actually, recording it. So yeah, do you agree or disagree? Tell me why or why not in the comments. If you like the video, like and subscribe. If not, subscribe anyway so you can tell me how bad my other stuff is. Because, I take any feedback as long as it's actual legitimate criticism and not just people being assholes. That's all for today. Stay safe in these crazy times.